This session is about theme and plugin design philosophy. You're probably all familiar with what makes a theme a theme. It's style.css. If you have a folder with a style.css file and you have a header that has a theme name in it, you have a theme. If you don't have those things, you don't have a theme. You just have a bunch of files. You can also have other things like the theme URI, the author URI. There's a description. There's a version number, the license URI, tags, text domain, and there are some other things that you can put in there. You can indicate that this is a child theme, or there's actually quite a number of things that you can put in that most themes don't. Because the name makes the theme, all I did to make this theme not be 2012 was add the words by Topher. You could put anything in there. You can call it whatever you want, and boom, you magically have a new theme. Plugins work very, very similarly. Let's look at Hello Dolly. Hello Dolly is a plugin created by Matt Mullenweg, who created WordPress, and it's a toy. It doesn't really do anything big. At the top here, we have comments for the package version and stuff like that. That's not necessarily tied to the functionality of the plugin or naming. You don't need that stuff. That's just stuff that's in there to help him keep track of versioning and his version control. What matters here is the plugin name. If you have a file in a folder with this header in it, you have a plugin. It doesn't matter what it does. It might do nothing. You have a plugin. So here, let's do this. Hello to Topher.php. I'm actually going to take his version control stuff out. Hello Topher. And alright, this is totally hacked. Ooh. There. Now I switch back. I go to plugins. And there's Hello Topher. And it says this is totally hacked. So the stuff in that comment block actually gets used here in the admin UI. So let's do this. Let's see. There. Now it has my wife's name instead of Dolly. Activate it. And I don't know if you're familiar with Hello Dolly, but all it does is take lyrics from the song and print them up here in the admin area. That one doesn't have anything I changed. Golly gee fellas. You're still going strong. Well, hello, Kate. So I just made a plugin. I did it by copying Hello Dolly. But conversely, not conversely, alternatively, something I could do there. I still have a plugin. It's still activated. WordPress doesn't have a problem with this at all, but it does absolutely nothing. All it is the comment block. I'm going to put it back because I want that back later. So in this plugin, there's a function called Hello Dolly Get Lyric. It populates this variable lyrics with the lyrics to the whole song. Does a little bit of code to split it up into individual lines, so it can print just one line at a time. Well, that's what this explode does. It puts it into individual lines. Then This is where it gets one random one from that array. It runs WP texturize, which in this case, because there's no texture code in there, it does nothing. Probably there, so you can do it. Then there's a function which echoes that one line, wraps it in the paragraph tag, and then he hooks it into admin notices. And then he throws in some CSS so that it goes in the right place and it looks nice. So this is a collection of functions. And they are hooked in to different places with the add action tag. Oh, I went too far there. Okay. So there's add action. It's not a tag, it's a function. Admin notices is a function built into WordPress that takes whatever you stick in it and puts it at the top of the admin area. By default, admin notices look like this. They're yellow. He wrote in his own CSS to say, don't make it yellow, and instead stick it right up here by the tab for the screen options. And now we get into philosophy. Is anyone here not familiar with object-oriented programming? At its very simplest, object-oriented programming lets you take a collection of functions and wrap them in one big package so that they only run inside that package. That package is called a class. And then the way you use it is you use that class to create an object, which is why it's object-oriented programming. If you don't use object-oriented programming, it's called functional programming, and it's just a bunch of functions all thrown out there. So here I have a plugin activated with a function called Hello Dolly Get Lyric. If I made another plugin with that same function name in it, bad things would happen. It would blow up because you can't have two functions of the same name. You can't have two variables of the same name or they're going to step on each other. When you use object-oriented programming, you can't have two functions of the same name within your class. But outside of your class, nobody cares what you call your functions. You can call them anything you want. Object-oriented programming is a little bit more complex. We're probably going to look at it some in this class, but I'm not going to use it to teach you what we're going to do. But it's not terrible, and it makes it so you can have more freedom to name your functions whatever you want. In functional programming, where you're just throwing a bunch of functions in a plugins file, which is perfectly fine. Many plugins do it. Matt Mullenweg did it. That's the way WordPress works. You have to be careful about what you name your functions. If you say you're writing a function to create a staff member, and you write a function called getItem, or not to create a staff member, but to get a staff member. You create a function called getItem, your chances of collision with some other plugin developer somewhere else in the world go real high. And as soon as somebody activates your plugin, things are going to blow up. Or if they installed yours first and they install the other guy's second, things are going to blow up and they're going to go to him for support and go, what's going on? Your plugin stinks. And he's going to go, it works fine for me, it works fine for everybody else in the world. He'll spend a bunch of time in support and figure out that you wrote a lousy plugin and write bad things about you on the internet. So think carefully about your function names, about your variable names, and things like that. It's very common among people who write plugins regularly that they have a standard prefix for all their functions. I tend to use CV underscore because my company's CodeVenture. Theoretically, somebody else could use CV and then I'd be in trouble. Well, assuming we had a real collision with the whole name. I like the Startbox theme framework, and he prefixes all of his with SB. Well, there's a plugin out there that's really cool called Sermon Browser. That is a podcast, sermon management thing, and it's really, really great. He has one function that collides with one function name in Startbox, and it makes it so that you can't have them both at the same time. You just can't. It's very sad. But so philosophy. Think about what you're naming your functions. As you get more into this, you'll want to start thinking about whether you want to do object-oriented or not object-oriented. There are good cases for both. It's good to learn both. I've only done a couple that are object-oriented, and it was neato, but I don't have a real solid discernible advantage there.